Hi, everybody. No, I don't want you to think you're going crazy. I am wearing the same shirt as yesterday, but for me, it's the same day. It's not that I didn't change my shirt. I'm going to be busy tomorrow morning and wanted to make sure that I shared a message with you before then. So, as I was sitting here listening to the sounds, can you hear all this noise? I don't know what's going on. Obviously, somebody's building something down the street here. Somebody over there is doing something else. Who knows? It's an urban neighborhood, you know, and I love it here because of all the sounds. Some people think it's a little too noisy, but you know, to each her own. Anyway, I'm out here in my yard, and many of you have seen this in various states through the Prayerful Pauses, and some of you have visited it in person. I want to describe for you kind of what it's like, not because my yard's anything special, but because it reminded me of something that someone said to me years ago when I bought my first home in the city. So that would have been, gosh, I don't know, 1995, maybe 90, somewhere in there. And it was an old house. That one was built in 1847. The one I'm in now was 1923. But in the first house, of course, there are a lot of little rooms. And I said, you know, I'd really like to open this up. I was doing a lot of rehabbing of my home. And I said, I'd really like to open this up. And she said, oh, don't do that. And I said, why not? It would be, you know, the air would flow. I'd have larger space. She said, yes, but this way you have all these different worlds that you can go into. Each room becomes a different world. If you don't like how you're feeling in one, you can go into another. And that has really stayed with me. And as I look around my fenced-in corner lot here, that I think of as my urban sanctuary, I see that I've done the same thing. And so my question for you is, are you doing the same thing where you live or wherever you have some space that you can control? Because I think it reflects what goes on inside ourselves. Some people would draw parallels to Jesus saying, in my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you so. Maybe, maybe that's what he meant. But as I look around, you know, my backyard here, my little urban sanctuary, there's a section over there where I have my little fountain that's going, and that's in sort of an arbored area, very shaded. Right next to that is kind of a shade garden where I can put a chair to sit. Then comes like the new grill. So that's out in the middle of everything. Then off to the side of that is the raised garden bed of vegetables. And to my immediate left where I am now is a swing, a bench swing. This is at a table with an umbrella over it underneath a pear tree. On the other side of that is my Forever Wild section, where I just yanked out a lot of weeds, but it's going to stay overgrown forever because that's how I feel about it. And then comes the shed, and over on the patio is a screened-in porch with my little portable hot tub because, you know, I couldn't afford a real one, but the portable one is great. Talk to me offline if you're interested in that. Anyway, and then in the middle is there's a fire pit and some chairs. I could go to each of these areas or just look at them and focus on them and feel totally transported into a different world. And my house is that way. Even though this is a different house, I've not split up the rooms there either. I let them, I've not opened up the rooms. I've let them stay their own identities, and each room has something different to offer. So my question for us to think about today is, how do we do that in our interior space? How do we do that in our own minds? Are there certain places, there are for me, certain places that I go to if I want to meditate? I have probably 3 or 4 different worlds that I've created where I could go. And it's an act of my imagination. I didn't want to say active. Well, it is an active imagination, but it is an act of my imagination. maybe it's a memory sometimes. If I've been to an awe-inspiring place, the Grand Canyon when I was 13, nothing inspires or gets to a 13-year-old, but that did. And it has stayed with me all these years. Maybe if I was never at Notre Dame, I wish I had been. I think that I would have taken in that sort of memory of that place to carry with me. And if you are a musician, certain places that you've performed, that everything just seems to resonate literally, but also with your spirit. We have these experiences in these places, and I think we need to be intentional about them, to call up those spaces so that we have a repertoire of locations where we can go when we don't want to be in our present world right here. Now, I'm not talking about any sort of, psychotic split or anything like that. I'm talking about a place to go inside you, a memory of a place or a place that you create that gives you comfort, that might be a place where you can rest in a different way. Is this making sense? Oh, I sure hope so, because I think this is crucial, and in a way, I think this is what Jesus was teaching us to do. Those of us who are Christian was teaching us to do, to not be so locked into what's around us that we forget we are part of the, get it, K-O-G, the kingdom of God. I think these places that we construct, these memories that we have, whether they are real places or imagined places, that they become part of the KOG, the place where God can meet us, where we can be refreshed and carry that refreshed energy, that energy of being centered, of not being fearful, of being hopeful and optimistic, where we know that we can connect with God in those places. And so we can take that out into the world. I think that's what we're supposed to be doing. Do you do that? We never talk about it. Well, hardly ever, unless you're sitting in front of a camera doing a prayerful pause. I mean, seriously, these are not the kinds of conversations that most of us have, but I think we should. Where are those places for you? Where do you take yourself? For years, I was at a women's music festival. If I need a safe and secure place, I am walking down the path there. I mean, I worked there for 18 years. I am walking down a path in the worker village. I can picture everything on both sides. It lowers my blood pressure. It takes me right out of whatever I'm going through. I think we need to teach our children to do that. We need to teach ourselves to do that. So that's my message for today. I hope that it has given you something to think about. It's and maybe talk with others about, even if they didn't watch this, or if they did, get them to watch this and then use that as a springboard for the conversation. I have no idea how many people watch this. I have no idea, or where you are, and maybe that would be interesting sometime. Send me a note about where you're watching from, or give me some feedback. What do you think? Are these things even helpful? I would love to know. But at any rate, I'm Pastor Deb Swift of South Presbyterian Church in Rochester, New York, and you've been watching A Prayerful Pause with the Pastor, a time to think of something greater than ourselves. And I thank you. Thank you for being here with me today for this, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. If you want to hear and watch more Prayerful Pauses or some of our worship services, if you're home alone and you've been turned off by church, trust me, we are different. That's a mild understatement, but check us out on our YouTube channel at South Church Rochester. If you want to get in touch with me personally, you can do that through the Contact tab on our website, which you'll find at the end cap of this. But I just, go off, find your places, create them. Make sure that you have someplace safe that you can go, where you can find God and you can be renewed. All right? That's it for today, for right now anyway. God bless. Take care. Be safe. We'll see you next time, and bye for now.